Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Maria if you are new here, and on this channel I speak about faith, relationships and lifestyle, all from a Christian perspective. So today's video is going to be a continuation of the series that I started I think 2 weeks ago on emotional healing. And in the first video I was speaking about why it's so important that we should heal, and literally why it's important to go on that journey of healing. And in this video I'll be speaking specifically about the process of healing. So it's so funny because not everyone actually wants to heal. Not everyone actually wants to go on that journey of healing. Not everyone wants to go through that process to come out of the other side of being healed. And I was thinking about the caterpillar, and how the caterpillar doesn't know that once he goes through that process of being in the cocoon, he will eventually come out on the other side as a beautiful butterfly that is able to fly, that looks amazing. And for some people, they genuinely feel like that when it comes to healing. They don't know that on the other side of their healing, there's a better version of them. And the heart behind this series is really to just encourage people to go through that process of healing, whatever it may be that they may need to heal from, in order to come out on the other side, in order to literally be a better version of themselves. One thing that I realized from personal experience and from people around even, I've seen that pain can really affect our worldview. It can affect our perspective of life, and it can really make us just get to that point where we just feel like, yeah, there's no point of living. And as much as the world is very dark, I feel like there needs to be more people shining their light, more people walking in their light, more people walking in their purpose, more people walking healed, so that they can literally be a light in that darkness. So I recently had a little situation where I literally burnt myself, and yeah, it basically formed some blisters, and I had to go through a period of healing that wound. And it's so crazy because this happened after I actually started the series, and I learned so much going through that process of healing, about the process of healing generally. I learned so much about emotional healing, that process of healing, just from that wound that I suffered for myself. So I thought that I'd come on here today just to share with you guys a few things that I learned on that journey, a few things that I learned as I was going through healing that wound that I had, which by the grace of God is actually healed right now. So hopefully it will bless somebody, hopefully it will encourage someone, and just make you realize that although the process of healing is not always easy, although the process of healing can even sometimes become ugly, it's worth it. And on the other side of that healing, like I keep saying, there's something even more beautiful. So the first thing that I learned when it came to the whole process of healing was that God can't heal what you won't reveal. God won't heal what you hide. So if we just liken this to the whole healing of a wound, right? So when I had my wound, I'll be very honest, it was at first very ugly and I didn't even realize that it was going to be so ugly, because the way it even happened, it shouldn't have even been that bad. And my first instinct was, oh my gosh, this looks so bad, I don't really want anyone to see this. But obviously for me, the only way that I could really heal it properly was to literally reach out to my mum and be like, Mum, I need help. So when we just think of this in terms of emotional healing and just go through our healing journey, the process of healing, sometimes we think that when we hide that wound, when we hide the things that we have inside, which to be honest, God can see anyway, but he wants us to bring it to him. When we try to hide those things, our healing doesn't come from hiding it. So when we don't acknowledge that, okay, I'm actually hurting, maybe it's someone's offended you so you have unforgiveness, maybe it's something that happened in your childhood, maybe it's a wound that you've incurred, maybe it's someone has literally physically hurt you but it's affected you emotionally. All these different things, if we don't bring them to God, then obviously our healing won't come forth. So that's the thing that I was first reminded of, that okay, when we first start identifying these things, and I'm gonna do another video where I speak a little bit more into like practical things that we can do on this journey of healing, but when we actually ignore the fact that we have pain in a certain area, that pain remains there. That pain remains there, and over time it starts to even become possibly worse, or becomes harder for us to heal from, even though healing is possible no matter how long or how deep that wound is. But when we leave that wound untreated, it can become worse than it was initially. So if you have something that you know that, okay, do you know what, I need to deal with this, then bring it to God. So the second thing that I learned on this whole process of healing was that healing is uncomfortable and can even be painful at times. So when I was going through healing the wounds that I had, it was very, very uncomfortable. It was very, very painful, to the extent where I was just like, this just needs to be over now, because it was so uncomfortable. And it just made me realize that although I had to go through that period, which to be honest, it wasn't even that long, it was probably a week that I had to deal with that. It was something that I realized that week of just allowing the wound to heal properly in the midst of the uncomfortable feeling, it was so much worth me waiting and being patient, because eventually the wound healed well. Like the wound was completely healed after a few days, and now it's just kind of getting rid of the scars. But it reminded me that pain is uncomfortable, right? It reminded me that pain is painful, right? But the healing of the pain can be even worse. So when I actually had the wound, in all honesty, it didn't hurt me as much as when I had to go through the process of healing. And that's how it feels. And that's why sometimes people actually run away from that healing process, because they feel like, I don't want to go through this, it's too painful. It even hurts more than when I wasn't going through that process of healing. So some people then end up staying in that initial place of not being healed. But again, like I mentioned about the situation of the caterpillar going through the cocoon, and it may seem dark, but eventually it comes out on the other side as a butterfly. And I just want to encourage someone watching today that you may be in that process of healing, or you may even not have started that process of healing, and you're kind of scared because the process, or the in-between, the middle part is dark, the middle part doesn't seem certain. I can tell you from experience that if you stay in the process and trust the process and just keep walking with God on that process, you will come out on the other side. You will come out on the other side. And it's much worth going through that middle period and feeling uncomfortable and feeling the pain and coming out on the other side, which leads me to the next thing that I kind of picked up from that whole process of healing, which is how much patience is important in this process. So we always hear the saying, patience is a virtue, patience is a virtue, patience is a virtue, right? And it's not any different when it comes to this whole process of healing, because it's a process. And unfortunately, when it comes to the process of healing, we never know how long that process might actually take. So for some people, they may go through something and maybe it takes 2 weeks for them to heal emotionally. For some people, it might take them years. So the way we heal, it differs. And one thing that I found myself doing in the past when it comes to healing from emotional pain is comparing that, okay, this person went through the same thing or something similar, and this is how it went for them. And I had to learn very quick that just because it was like that for them does not mean it will be the same way for me. Yes, it can encourage me, but just because it took them 2 weeks doesn't mean it will take me 2 weeks as well. Just because it may have taken them 10 years doesn't mean it will take me 10 years. So that's another thing as well. So being patient during the healing process, and also not comparing, because I feel like it's very, very easy to compare when you're in that process of healing to other people that may have gone through similar things, feeling like, okay, it should be the same way. Oh, because they did A, B, and C, if you do A, B, and C, that things will turn out the same way for you. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And even I've been in situations where I felt, okay, if I do this or if I do that, then I will have this result, and it's not worked out that way for me. So for me, it literally had to be me walking on that journey step by step on what God was telling me to do so I can get to that place of my healing. So that's another encouragement as well for anyone who's watching, that don't compare. It's good to look at other people's journey as encouragement, but not for comparison's sake. You can compare in terms of yourself and how far you've come and how far God has brought you, but don't compare somebody else's journey expecting yours to be the exact same way. And then the final thing that I learned when it came to the whole process of healing was, and this might kind of contradict the first thing I said, but let me land. So it's important for you to keep the wound, or important for you to keep things covered when you're going through that healing process. So obviously at the beginning I said that God won't heal what you hide, right? This can differ, because some people, for example, I've seen some people who they've started podcasts and it's part of their healing process, but by that time they're probably at a place where they're not talking from a place of complete hurt. But anyway, putting that to the side, so when I was going through the process of healing with the wounds that I had, I basically had to put a plaster over it and just let the blister heal. And it got to a point where I was just like, this thing is very uncomfortable, it's itchy, and I just want to take it off. And then I even Googled and I said, okay, when you have a blister, what's the best thing to do in order for it to heal? And it said, you must keep it covered. You must keep it covered. And this is something that each of us should kind of take our journey, our personal journey to God, right? Because for someone, God might say to them that, no, I need you to create a podcast and speak through your pain, and that's where your healing will come from. But there's also an importance of knowing that not everyone wants you to heal. That's an important thing that we all need to understand. Not everyone wants you to heal. So for some people, it's very important that when you're going through that healing process to keep it covered, or when you open it up to people, they will easily be able to dig into that wound that has not yet healed and make it worse. So not everyone has to be involved in that healing process. Remember that. That's the last thing I will kind of end on, that wisdom and discernment is key in terms of who might need to know about what you're going through in order for you to come to that place of healing. For some people, it might be speaking to close people around them, family, friends. It may be even speaking to a therapist, a counselor. But knowing that it's not everybody that you need to speak to when you're going through that process of healing, in terms of what you're healing from, right? And then obviously when you're healed by the grace of God, you can come and then you can share it as a lesson, because you might have gone through it and learned something from it that you can help other people coming behind you. And that's the beauty with healing. When you're healed, you can then share your story and tell people what you went through, what you made it through, so that those people that are going through the exact same thing can have hope that they can make it through as well to the other side. So that's all for today's video, guys. Remember, healing starts from the mind, and we'll be continuing the series. If you guys have any comments, make sure that you comment your input below. As you guys know, it's a family and I love to read you guys' comments. Make sure you like, share and subscribe. And if you haven't already, click on the notification bell so that you can be notified when the next video comes out. Love you guys so much, and I look forward to seeing you guys in my next video. Peace out and God bless.